Mhm. Okay, guys, we are live. Welcome in. This is Exploring Motherhood. I am Dr. Camilla, also known as Camilla. I like that better, but um, this is Exploring Motherhood. We actually are a organization that brings light to Black infant and maternal death, especially in the Black community, and mortality. So, in order to combat that, we decided to start this organization and bring awareness to different birthing styles and different birthing professionals that may help in preventing that. So, what we currently have going on is a birthing series called Birthing Talks. And so, this is our second episode, and we currently have Miss Devana, also known as Mama Doula for some of you. And she's going to give us a little insight onto what she brings to the table in regards to birthing. And I'll just read a little bit about her to get us started. So, Devana is a doula and a community health worker. She's a peer lactation counselor, excuse me, and an overall educator. As a mother of seven, she is passionate about conception, pregnancy, birth, and motherhood. It is her goal to educate her community about the effects of their health and environment on all topics above that we can learn to prevent as much as we like to treat. I love that. Once we teach the mother, once we heal the mother, we teach the community and heal the community, allowing for us to truly be unified. You can find her on Instagram and TikTok at Mama Doula, and the mama is with two A's on the end. Okay, guys? So let's give a round of applause for Miss Devana. And it's been a long time since I've been in the same space with Miss Devana. So it
Yes,
is really refreshing to see your face.
it is so
How are you
refreshing to
doing
see
today,
you.
ma'am?
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well also.
I am. So I guess if we could give get a quick little run through of what are the services of a doula. I'd like to hear about that.
I think it really depends upon the doula that is providing the service. There are some doulas who call themselves like full circle doulas who deal with mothers from the beginning of pregnancy into the end, which is like normally 6 weeks postpartum, right? They're there. And most of the work is done around birth, right? The actual birthing process, being there during the birth. A lot of doulas decide to spend more time around the birthing process. Um, there are some doulas who do end of life. There's an end of life doula who sometimes they have nothing to do with pregnancy or postpartum. They're actually there with people who are nearing the end of life and they're helping them transition. There are doulas who may like to do placenta encapsulation. There are doulas who like to do body work. There are doulas. There's so much that's within the doula community, but generally, a doula is a helper to a mother during that process, right? That's they're supposed to serve the mother during that process and provide her assistance with basically being able to um, have a healthy birth, right? Being able to assist her mentally, some spiritually, some physically with movements and things like that. But she stands in the position of making sure that the mother is comfortable, that she stays present, helping her where she may lose focus. And, when you're in labor, sometimes you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So a doula is a person who brings you back to that, right? Helps center you again and reminds you of what it is that you said you wanted. So they're really supportive when it comes to a mother's mental health during birth.
Great. And you touched on a lot of different services that you all give, as well as some things that are truths. Can you touch a little bit about some of the untruths or myths that comes around doulas?
When I was a new doula, you're so excited to be a doula. You're so excited to be in this space. And so some doulas, I wouldn't say lose their mind, but some of them go, when you're in business, right? Um, there's something called scope of practice, or scope of support, or scope. And basically that outlines what it is that you are to provide to your customer, right? This is what we do, and this is what we're allowed to do, and we don't move outside of that scope of support or practice, right? Because we don't want to blur the lines. Some doulas will deliver babies. Some doulas are free birthing mothers. And generally, as a doula, that is not something that you're necessarily meant to do. And as a young doula, I probably thought, oh, well, I could do it until I became a student midwife. And until I got in that space, there's doulas who want to operate by themselves, and they want to do everything because it's just this hunger to be the best. It's this hunger to have every client, have all the clients be yours. But in this community, it is a community. It is exactly what I said. It's a community. And if we're helping navigate women to have better experiences and better birth outcomes, we have to work together. We're not all just trying to take on all the clients at once. We can't do that because we're human. We're women. We have our own families sometimes, and we need to work together. So a lot of doulas have this myth that, oh, you could deliver babies. And some people will call me and I'm like, I haven't finished midwifery yet. And I'm not working in that capacity of delivering your baby because I'm going to be honest with you. If something happens, I'm going to have already had you sign a paper that said you realize that if this is the outcome of what happens, this is your choice. And so some doulas will get so excited and try to force their beliefs on their clients. As a doula, you are not there to force your beliefs on your clients, right? That's the point of a consultation. Me and my client are going to talk, and I'm going to tell her what I do and what I believe in, and she's going to be able to fill me out, right? And if we don't mesh in that situation, then she may not choose me. But even if she chooses me, no matter what I believe in, I can't force it on her. Now, me personally, I don't do vitamin K. I didn't do that, when I had babies. But being a student midwife, I had to learn to swallow that, Go ahead.
Sorry, you can
It's
keep
okay.
going.
No, don't worry. It's just you have to, the myth is that as a Black woman being a doula, yes, we are advocates. And yes, we understand a lot of different things that happen in our community. But at the end of the day, your job is to support your client. And if your client wants to do something, like, I'm going to remind you of what you said you wanted. But at the end of the day, no matter how much it may hurt my feelings, or no matter how much it may disappoint me, because I know that you can do what it is that you said you can do,
Mm-hmm.
I still have to remember to back off at a certain point, right? Because
Exactly. Yeah.
this is your birth process.
Right.
And just as I'm telling you, you have the ability to tell the doctor what you can't, what you will and will
Right.
not do. You have the right to turn to me and say, look, I no longer feel comfortable following through with this process.
Right.
This is what I want to do.
Now, yeah.
Right.
That I love that.
So,
So I guess in that, I mean, you touched on having a certain, um, I guess, title, or do doulas have to get certified? Let's touch there. Like, what are their certification processes? And now that you're becoming a student midwife, I know that you touched on that you will not work in that capacity. Is that, do those two conflict in any way?
no. So as a doula, you don't have to have a certification. It's not a law yet to be a doula, right? It depends upon what state you're practicing in. So most definitely you have to worry, because there's certain states that are, I don't know if it was Ohio, it was one state that specifically passed a law that you had to be certified through the state, right? And so there's certain states that don't have those certification things. That's with anything, right? In some states, you may have to have 4 years to be a nurse, but in another state, you may be able to have an associate's degree to become a nurse. So it's particularly based upon what state you're in. It's the same with homeschooling. It's the same with a lot of things, right? So you have to be smart and research what is the rules for the state that you live in. As a midwife, though, there are many different ways, right? There's certified midwives. There are CPMs. So there's CMs, CPMs, nurse midwives, right? CNMs. There's something called a traditional midwife, right? And all of those have different levels of education that's required, different entry levels. You have to do NARM, which, right, is the people that normally are the ones who certify CPMs, right? Because you have to do like a 3-year apprenticeship, have a certain amount of births. So midwifery, because it's more in depth, there's somebody's life in your hands. You are now practicing as a doctor in a sense. I mean, you're practicing as a doctor. You have to know if someone's hemorrhaging, what to do. You have to know if a baby is presenting feet first, butt first. You have to know what to do. You have to know that breech births are not pulling on a baby's bottom. A lot of it is hands off. A lot of it is going into a certain position, or if a baby has a shoulder dystocia, there's a certain thing where you get on the back, the woman gets on the back and you get her legs as far apart as you can, right? But you have to know those processes because you have to know what to look for. And you have to know a midwife knows when to be hands off. A midwife does not play God. And that's something that I learned being a student midwife is we don't play God. We know that when something doesn't look right, this is over. You're going to the hospital. No matter
Right.
what you wanted.
Right.
I can't do this anymore because I'd rather have a mother that's alive
Then yes.
and a baby that's alive if possible.
Right.
Because if the baby's going to go, unfortunately, there's nothing I can
And
do.
do
But at least let me save the
the
mother that
mother.
I've been providing care for this whole time.
Correct. Yes,
You
ma'am.
know.
So how do you actually empower the mothers and advocate for them within the healthcare system if you are in that space now that you talked about like transferring?
Yes. Well, midwives, it depends. Like as a doula, if I'm in that space,
As
the
a
whole
doula.
time that as a doula, the whole time that I am spending time with my client, I'm educating. Like I don't feel like I should be educating you towards the end of your birthing process. When I get a client, we talking about it from the get-go. What is it that you want? What is it that you need? What is it that you want from me, right? And I'm gonna give you a little bit of my own experience and let you, because I always want to share, what I do know. But again, ultimately it's your decision towards the end. I mean, towards the end of it all, you're the one who has to suffer the consequences, or you get the rewards of whatever choices you make. It's not me. So I educate from the beginning to the end, right? But in the space, I always let the client know when they have questions. Anything, you hired the doctor. The doctor works for you. Whether your insurance pays for it, whether you pay for it, it doesn't matter. That doctor is employed. They're in a position providing a service to you. So as long as what you want is within the legal requirements of the system, right? Know your rights. And that's what I want my clients to know. Certain states, I got lied to when I was in Texas that the vitamin K was required, that I couldn't leave the hospital unless I gave my son vitamin K. So, of course, before I became a doula, I was worried. I don't want anybody to take my baby. And then later on, figured out they were lying to me. They were doing that to pressure me. And then when I came back and was now educated, there's no law in the state of Texas that forces vitamin K. And if I only have to give it if I'm circumcising my son. And being a midwife, there are doctors who circumcise babies. They don't teach you without the vitamin K shot. You just have to wait until they're at least 3 weeks old. These are the type of things that I educate my clients with. And then the information, student midwifery was one of the biggest benefits to me learning what it meant to be a better doula. And doulas need that. I do think doulas need a certain amount of education because once you see that side, you know why it's not a good idea to mess around with this stuff, what type of responsibility it is. So educating your client is the biggest thing. You don't have to catch a baby to be a good person who provides support. To educate and empower and tell your client the laws for their state, to show them how to stand up for themselves. To tell the doctor when a doctor comes in, it's like, you got to make this decision. Hold on. Can I have 5 to 10 minutes so I can talk to my family without you sitting in my face so that I can discuss this? Because ultimately it's my decision. It doesn't matter. It's still my decision. Do
Right.
I need to go into a C-section right now? No. Well, then you need to give me 20 minutes. I would appreciate that. And you make those doctors and the nurses and you make everybody leave so that you can have a sound mind with your doula, with your husband, or whoever is in there with your mother, so that you're not working off fear, because that's how
Right.
they get it. They want us to
Work
respond in
on
fear.
fear. Mm-hmm.
You never answer a question just because you think you know the answer. You always think about the answer even before you give it. So please, everybody, leave my room. I need a moment to think. I need a moment to pray. I need a moment to meditate. I don't care if I do know the answer. Still, everybody get out my room so I can think about the answer that I think I know. And that's what I'm trying to teach my clients, so that they don't work in fear.
Okay. I like that. So, okay, have you ever encountered any like medical racism as a doula um in that space?
Um, I would say that most of my clients are, of me, or black. I mean, unless I was a student midwife, I never really dealt with people of other races within my own business. So I would say almost all the situations were probably based in that, right? Because they don't listen to people, and a lot of times when I was in the hospital with my clients, I felt like I was on guard. Like, I had to be ready. Like, I couldn't go to the bathroom, like, because there was not only an attack from the medical providers, sometimes it was attacks from the family members inside of the room, because they trusted everything the doctor said, you know and I sometimes I believe it is, of course I know that black women are very much ignored in their concerns, in what they want. So I've had clients where I was like, you can get a monitor right on your belly that's not connected. They have wireless monitors, and the doctor's like, well, our wireless monitors are like down the hallway. And I'm like, are they being used? And she's like, well, no, but it may take a minute. That's okay, go find it. Like, why are you you thought that she was just gonna say, like, oh, it's an inconvenience for me to find it, and that was gonna be an okay answer? No, go find it. Like, I'm gonna give you a moment. If you want to hook her up, if she's okay with being hooked up to the monitor that is connected to all the machines, then fine. But I think a lot of times they talk to us like that, because you want to know something about black women? We take care of everybody else beside ourselves. And anytime we feel like we're inconvenienced to somebody, we back down. But I have seen women, white women, other women of other races, but normally white women, just to be honest, who be like, I don't care what you're talking about. I said that that's what I wanted. So go figure it out. And they don't care. They're very demanding. They do not care. They don't care if it inconveniences you. But
Right.
us, we don't want to be a bother. We
Ex-
don't want to make things difficult for other people. We don't want to require what it is that they're supposed to be giving it to us, because
mm,
there's a certain standard of care that we're supposed to get.
right.
But because we don't want to ruffle feathers, or we don't want to be seen as difficult as
Mm,
they label us, we allow them to mistreat us. So I've seen it. I've seen it where, well, why do you want to do this? We should just do the C-section. And
yeah.
I'm like, because she wants to try.
Yeah.
Why are you asking her questions?
Yeah.
She's here. She's in labor. It
Right.
doesn't matter. You give her the trial of labor. And then if something happens after the trial of labor that
Exactly.
then calls for a C-section, then we talk about that when we get there. But why are you bringing this negative energy in, as
Hmm.
if, well, all my years, all your years, it doesn't matter. You haven't seen every situation in all your years. You're
Yeah.
one doctor in one hospital.
True.
Like, you don't see the whole population. So it's a big battle sometimes, because they don't want to hear us. They really, in the past, I feel like we just take what doctors say. We're not the ones who ask for second opinions. We're not the ones who get up and leave hospitals.
Right.
We stay in a bed and allow people to mistreat us, and we
Right.
cry.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, you know what?
I'm gone.
I'm
Yeah.
gone. Something
Yeah.
ain't right.
Yes, ma'am. And now that you say that, in my birth with her, I had her at home. We transferred to the hospital because I wasn't sure about her breathing. I had a
Yes.
doula at home, and I didn't want to go to the hospital right away because I wasn't gonna make it. I knew I wasn't gonna make it. I know my body, so I knew I wasn't gonna make it. I'm like, I'm not having my baby in the car. We stayed.
Right.
So, um, she was there at the home, but she didn't transfer with me. She actually took my other children with her. So,
Okay.
in that setting, I didn't have the voice. I had my husband, of course, but
Yes.
he can go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yes.
And so you need the doula in the space to
Yes.
be that, okay, everybody calm down.
Yes.
This is what she wants. This is what she needs. And we're going to do it this way first. Is
Yes.
there any way of compromising
Yes.
to get the same result for everybody? Because
Yes.
when we were there, just to give a little bit of context, they wanted to do more lab work on her for her bilirubin since it was high.
Mm.
And I'm fine with that. I know the severity of that situation, um, being that I'm in pharmacy. And so I was aware that you needed to get it done, the levels done at a time frame, 24 hours after. And so they didn't want me to let her do it the next day at the pediatrician's office. And they were calling CPS and the whole nine, okay? Social workers in the room and everything. So my husband, being going from 0 to 100, he almost went from 0 to 100. So in that space, I had to just start crying. Let me cry, tell them to leave so we can have that space to
Yes.
reset and think, well, what can we do to compromise? So
Right.
you need the doula there to be that voice of reason. Like, hey, well, they want to take a second and think
Yes.
about what you're telling them.
Yes.
They want to take a second. So I love that you talked about that advocating, and being that voice of reason for your, because in the moment they're fear mongering you.
Yep.
Okay, they have the social worker here. They're
Mm-hmm.
talking about CPS. So
Yep.
to be the voice of reason and to think about, you're not in the situation as the
Right.
doula. You're a step back. Like, you have no effects that are going
Yes.
to happen to you.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
can think clearly for
Yes.
me and not with emotion.
Yes.
So I love that you said that, because that's exactly what you need in that moment, a voice of reason, really. And
Yes.
that's what, for me, I feel like is the doula's main role in that setting.
Yes.
In that setting, especially during, before, and after. Like,
Yes.
because there's so much that could happen based off of fear. I'll say
Yes.
that. The
Yes.
tension. So let's talk about a little bit about that. Can you give us some insight in regards to how doulas relieve tension and can help accelerate a birth, based off of the coping mechanisms that you all present and provide for the patient?
So you're talking about the fear, tension, pain
Yes.
cycle. That's one of my favorite cycles to talk about because it's so powerful, right? About how fear, birth is a direct example to me of, we go through what life is in 10 months, right? Because birth is a process that you repeat as a woman mentally and spiritually and physically all throughout your life, right? And so fear, tension, pain cycle says when you have fear, it creates tension, right? And then that tension creates, pain. But the problem with the fear, tension, pain cycle is in a woman's body, in anybody's body. The moment, uh, an animal in the wild could be in labor, but the moment that another thing presents a threat to them, once that animal perceives fear, the body tenses up, which then slows the labor process, right? Which can cause pain because when you're tensed up, that's why they say babies who are in a car accident, they're oftentimes more safer than adults because they don't know to tense up. They don't know what to expect. They just know they're unsuspecting. So they a lot of times survive accidents, and adults who tense up, their pain, breaking of bones, and all of these things happen. So with the fear, tension, pain cycle, it actually stops your labor process. It will stop what you're actually, so a woman could be going, having contractions every minute lasting 20 seconds, and she's in a good flow, right? And then something happens mentally, she starts getting that pain. Like, I know with myself, the pain was coming really fast with my first vaginal birth after cesarean section. And the labor happened. I didn't know that really my body was in labor the day before, but I had ignored it. So I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning for prayer. And I'm on my, I'm praying on my, my knees this time, because now I'm pregnant. I can't be doing all that bending and stuff. So I'm doing my prayer on my knees. And I was like, oh, this pain is strong. And I was like, girl, you trying to get out of prayer. That's me. Like, girl, you trying to get up out of prayer. Keep praying. So I'm praying, but the pain's getting worse. It's getting worse. And I'm like, hold on. Nah, maybe this is real. But within the span of that 4 a.m. to maybe 5, maybe 20 minutes, the labor just goes bam. And I'm like, wait, this is not how labor goes, because this is based off of my knowledge, right? Me not understanding that I'm having a precipitous labor, and that happens to some people. But that scared me. That scared me because I knew that I had a C-section. And I knew that constant contractions on that space could possibly cause me to rupture. And that started causing me to have issues with pushing through my labor, because mentally I was like, is that labor? Is that pain about to come again? It was hitting like every 60 seconds. And I was like, I can't breathe. I'm not getting a breath between these. And when I started freaking out, it started giving me more pain. I started tensing up. And then once I was like, you got this. And I got on my knees and I spread my knees and I went into a completely different space, because that was the only way I knew that I was going to be able to handle those labor pains, because my mind was playing games with me, because I was like, oh my God, this is bad. How much more is it going to come? All of these thoughts. So as a doula, you come in and the pain's coming quick, quick, quick. And you say, okay, you did good. Well, I can't do this. The pain's gonna keep coming. We don't worry about the next contraction. The next contraction is none of our business.
We're gonna welcome it, actually.
We gonna welcome it. We are gonna welcome it, but what we gonna do is we're gonna be present.
Right.
Because that's life. You don't worry
Right.
about the future. The future
Right.
doesn't exist
We're
yet.
gonna worry about now.
We're
Yes.
gonna worry about now. How can you get through this? Let me help you. Let me rub your back. Let me hold those hips together. Let me shake the apple tree. Let me rub you down. Let me do, what is it that you need me to do? You want to hold on to me? You want to squeeze me? You want me to turn on your music? What do you want to do? And we talk about that beforehand, but in that moment, we're all trying to bring her back to the present moment of the contraction she's in. And then when she's out of the contraction, getting her to actually rest in between contractions. Because if she freaks out in between contractions, she's not going to make it, because she's never coming down. She's
Yes.
never relaxing and releasing and saying,
That's right.
right? And so
Yes.
that's important for us to do, because it'll stop the whole labor. We've seen
It will.
people do that.
I want to give a comment on that. In my experience, because I said it before, probably in a previous episode, but I had a doula with my second child as well, and my midwives, I had two student midwives and one actual midwife.
Mm,
And she stepped outside. And this was my first time of having an actual hands off midwife,
right.
where she was like, they were just sitting drinking tea and, listening to the music. I had the minister playing his violin
Yes.
concerto, and it was my first time. I was kind of like nervous. She was asking, well, to give a background, she was saying, we're going to just come over and hang out. We don't know if you're in labor, but we'll come over and hang out. And if you are, we'll be there. And if not, then we can leave. So she
Right.
never confirmed you're in labor. So I was getting the contractions.
Uh-huh.
This is my second child. So I have the first child, you have ignorance. You have
Mm-hmm.
a ignorance of how it's going to go. So you don't really feel the pain. To me, I didn't feel the pain. So the second time, it was contraction after contraction after
Mm-hmm.
contraction. And so I started tensing up. She had to step outside and call my doula. You have to come now, because
Yes.
she's tensing up. And they
Yes.
didn't listen until after. But she called her and told her, you have to come down. And I put on my birth plan, I didn't want to be touched. I don't
Right.
even like my husband to touch me and all of that. I don't want to be touched. So she asked me, she said, I know you don't want to be touched, but can I touch you? And I said, sure. What are you going to do? And she said, I need you to follow my hand with your breath, because
Right.
you're extremely tense. So she put her hand on the top of my back spine and
Yes.
all the way down to my sacrum. And I did that 3 times. And I pushed my son off after the third time.
That's beautiful.
So I love that you talked about the tension, and how a doula can actually help break that tension with
Yeah.
some of the services that she may have.
Yes.
I also want to talk about, excuse the noise, guys. My daughter's right here and she wants to breastfeed. So let me step off real quick and
Okay.
turn her back on. Okay, she's relaxed. But I want to talk about um the services that you guys provide for uh end of life, or what is it, when a mother goes through a miscarriage during your time of service. If we could talk on that as well. um
I've been lucky to never deal with a miscarriage as a doula, but I've dealt with people losing actual babies as a student midwife.
okay.
And that impacted
And
me.
after the full term birth, or
It was a full term. It was
okay.
a full term, and she was probably like 39 weeks, and we put the Doppler on her stomach, and there it was silent,
Yes,
like
ma'am.
no baby. Um, what I would say is I'm navigating towards my own postpartum business. So right now, me and a sister here are working on a business called YAP, which is you are a priority. And this is a service where we want to provide postpartum care to women who leave the hospital, because a lot of people act like after a woman has a baby, it's over. When in reality, postpartum is one of the most difficult processes a woman endures after she has a baby. Um, but a part of those services that I told my sister when we were talking about the businesses, I said, what about women who lose their baby in the hospital? What about women who have miscarriages? Because when you're going through a miscarriage, a lot of people go into a depression and they have other children, right? And they have a whole household that needs to be taken care of. As a doula, where I want to add to these services is where we come into that type of home with a woman who has just lost a baby. Or it could be her baby, she lost her baby after her baby was here a couple of weeks, a couple of months, or she lost the baby while it was in the hospital, or she lost the baby at the 6 month mark. I would like to come in there and wash my sister's feet, give her a pedicure, be there with her, sit her on the couch with her, just watch out for her. Because the thing is, in this economy, the husband may have to go back to work and leave this woman at home. And she may not have family to come in there and be in that space. And I want to be there for my sister. I want to be able to offer that service to the family and say, hey, I'm not a babysitter, but I'm sitting in that moment. I'm her support. I'm just going to be there for her. I'm going to sit on the couch in the front, sis. You
Yeah.
want to lay in the bed? But when you need me, call out to me. When I
Yeah.
hear my sister crying, or or she needs some clothes in the washer, I want to be
Right.
there. And or the babies, or you may have babies. You may have 4 or 5 year olds, and a 3 year old don't understand that a baby that you just lost a child. They
Right.
still want their mother.
Mhm.
But you need someone. We need this community. We need this circle where we need to stop having this. We have this problem as Black women that we got to do everything by ourselves. That we got to struggle. That we got to hurt. That we got to burn ourselves through these flames. But a lot of times that got through in life was, if I didn't have nobody to come and say, angels, hidden angels, even if they weren't in the house with me, that was like, you're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right. You, I had sisters when I was in Houston when I was going through something. A sister was like, hey, Sister Devonna, come with me for my cooking thing. Sister Monique, let's go over here, drive with me to this event. And she introduced me to things, right? She was there for me in that instance where she may have not known what I was going through, but it was having her just call out to me and say, hey, let's do this. And she didn't have to know. Well, I want to be able to do that while knowing. I want sisters to know that there are services when you're going through things. You don't have to sit in the bed and cry and worry that your baby got the same onesie on, that your baby's in there hungry and screaming and crying. And I'm not judging you that you can't get up out that bed, because I've been there. I've done that. You need somebody to be in there in your corner and help. And so that's what I want to do as a doula. That's the services I'm starting to want to offer in my business.
And I'm glad that you acknowledge that. I mean, we have something. Well, I wanted to instill nesting parties. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's before the baby comes. But there's also a gap in the postpartum world of, I'm gonna show up at your doorstep with food. I'm going to show up at your doorstep and clean your dishes.
Yes.
I'm going to
She left.
sorry.
It's okay.
I think she ended it. I'm sorry. But I'm going to actually show up at your doorstep and you okay? You want more milk? She's so tired. Sorry, guys. But I'm gonna show up at your doorstep and take care of your other child, take him
Yes.
bath, and all of that. So
Yes.
there is a huge gap in um, that postpartum life, um,
Yes.
and that's that's a sensitive part of childbirth. That's where actually majority of the maternal and infant death occurs. Is
Yes.
afterwards.
Up
Okay,
to a
after
year. Up to a year.
up to a year after you've had the child.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're looking at, okay, my legs are swelling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm having this pain, but they're saying it's normal.
Yes.
You know, my blood pressure is high, but I'm not
Yes.
really sure if it's that high.
Mm.
Because they said it's supposed to be like this for a while. I'm
Yes.
having tingling in my hands. I'm
Yes.
having all of these things, but nobody, everybody said it's normal. I'm looking on the blogs and all the different forums, and this is normal for many moms, but it may not be your normal.
Right.
So we're all different. So
Yes.
things can happen in that instance, and or you're tired and
Yes.
you may roll over on the baby. You
Yes.
may be, if you just need 30 minutes of sleep, I got the baby.
Yes.
Go to sleep. We
Yes.
need that. We need
Yes.
that.
We
And
really
so
do.
I'm glad that you're bringing in that service, and I would love for you to be on our birth team list on the website so that they can access you. What are some of the services you provide as a doula? Are you able to do it virtually, or is that something that you would love a more intimate setting to have for your clients?
I've done it virtually,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I want my business to be, a lot of people want access to me because of my experience with my vaginal birth after cesarean. But a lot of people also want access to me because I'm an educational person. Like when I came into doula, I went farther.
Mm-hmm.
I don't stay surface. I don't want
Right.
to ever be surface. I want deep. I mean, if I want to be able to get to the point to where I know how to break down things within the body, right? And I know why this causes this, because being a doula and being educated, an educated woman that's providing service to another woman is way more powerful than a woman who does things based off what she feels and what she's guessing. So as a doula, I say always make sure you're constantly growing knowledge wise so you can provide better service to your clients. But virtually, I say I could provide services to my clients because educating you on what your right is a big portion for us to stop the black maternal mortality rate, right? So if, let's say with the postpartum services, she says, I don't feel good, something's not right, I just want to talk to you. I just I want postpartum care services. You may not be close to me, but I want to be able to call on you and talk to you when I need to, when something's not feeling right. So that when my sister gets on the phone with me, I'd be like, well, what are you feeling? Oh, well, I'm feeling this. And I'm gonna be like, well, go to the doctors. And she gonna be like, well, everybody said, I don't care what everybody else says, because everybody's not in your situation. So I'd rather you be safe than sorry, right? Everything presents differently, like you said, for different women. Some women, when they have, I never knew this, but some women have contractions in their thighs. I remember the midwife telling me that. She was like, contractions don't look the same for everybody. She said some people have back labor, some people have contractions in their thighs, some people don't feel nothing. You just know because certain things have dropped. right? Or like, some feel different down there.
Yeah.
It feel a little heavy down
Heavy.
there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I didn't have no contractions. Like, we seen women who were this, like, fingertip dilated. And then we be like, that girl ain't going into, mentally, you be like, she ain't going into labor for like 4 weeks.
Right.
She will come back 3 days
Mm-hmm.
or call us 3 days later talking about, I think the baby head about to come out. Well,
Come
lady,
out.
what
Yes.
you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
We
For
just saw you
certificates.
three
Yeah.
days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, ma'am.
everything don't look the same. So yes, virtually, I think I don't mind. I do offer virtual services to anybody that calls me, no matter. I say, well, where are you located? If you're
Right.
not located in my city, I say, well, how is that? How can I help you? What is it
Mm-hmm.
that you're looking for from me? Are you looking for education? Are you looking for support? I actually did a thing for a client because I moved to Mexico and I started here in Texas with her. And I said, well, I'm leaving, so I can return your money to you. Or I can provide the educational portion, right? And I can provide the support and we can have weekly, monthly calls. And then I can help have somebody, I can work with another doula in your city that can then provide physical assistance with having the baby, right?
Right.
So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can pull my sources and I can do the main part of it. But then when it comes time for you to actually get in the hospital and have that physical support,
Right.
now I have somebody that I know and feel comfortable with that's going to be in
Mm-hmm.
there giving
To
me
help
a
you.
little bit of feedback, helping me and
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, well, this is what's going on. But they're educated enough on their own to handle it as well.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I love that. What other services, like in regards to your resources that you provide, um, like do you have resources in regards to like hypnobirthing? Is that something that you delve into as well?
Yes,
Um,
I have I provide links. Like, I have midwifery was the goat for me.
yeah.
Like, it just opened my ability to find a lot of sources. But yes, I send people YouTube videos that we used in midwifery.
Okay.
Um we also have the mile circuit. I don't know if you know
Yes,
about the
I'm
mile
familiar.
circuit. I have a
Hmm.
whole mile circuit sheet that I send my clients. And
Spinning
so
babies, do you have that as well? Spinning babies?
spinning babies. I
Mm-hmm.
learned about spinning babies with my second child when a doctor
Mm-hmm.
told me my baby was, he had flipped up.
Yep.
And I always say the Lord's working. He was like, something popped up and said, is there not a way
To
for
to
you to flip your baby yourself?
right.
And then that's when I discovered in my 20s about
Mm-hmm.
spinning babies. And so now
Yeah.
I'm able to provide these things to clients and say, well, it works because I flipped my
I've done
baby.
it myself. Yeah.
I've done it myself,
Yeah.
you know.
Um, I love that. Yeah, because that's something I've dealt with. I've dealt with only a sunny side up. But
Oh,
even like you said, just you saying yourself, okay, my baby is breech. What can I
yeah.
do before these, next couple of months to make sure they're head down? What can
Yes.
I do? So a doula also provides those services, and you don't have to guess. You don't have
Nope.
to guess like, oh well, what should I do when this happens, or
Mhm.
if the baby is head down but they're sunny side up, what can I do? So I love
Yes.
that they have access to that through a doula as well. And I would have
Yes.
never known, well, I do my own research too, but I would have never known such a thing was in existence if I hadn't had a doula. um
Right.
it, at my exposure as well. um so yes, ma'am. I have another question in regards to, let me see, my daughter turned the computer down. But in regards to, if we could go back to maternal and infant mortality, what do you think are the factors, the three, I guess, well, a couple of different factors that contribute most, as you see during your practice currently?
Lack of knowledge.
Oh, good. I love it.
Lack of knowledge. You can't do better if you don't know better.
Right.
Right. Lack of support.
Yeah.
Um, a woman has a baby. They crashing out. They don't know what to do. Their
Mm.
hormones is all over the place.
Yes,
Maybe
ma'am.
their husband went back to work and left them at home with two babies
Yeah.
and a newborn.
Hmm.
They got an upstairs, downstairs. Stairs. Maybe they got some stitches from the Rudy to the Tootie. And I
Yeah.
say this from my own experience.
Yeah.
I've dealt with this all, mostly a majority of my pregnancies was me as a woman not having family around. Um, I had to do it all by myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was affecting my mental health. I
Yeah.
thought it was attributed to maybe just depression and anxiety that I had already, and
Yeah.
didn't find out till sixth baby that this is postpartum depression.
Depression. Yeah.
This is
Mm-hmm.
baby blues.
Right.
This is not because I'm crazy. This is because I lack support.
Yeah.
This is because I'm being asked to do everything on my own and there is no one around to help me.
Right.
Um and then I think a lack of nutrition, a lack of proper nutrition and proper vitamins,
Mm.
because they don't teach you that most women are not iron deficiency in pregnancy, but a majority of them become deficient after labor, and
Yes.
iron deficiency actually can cause postpartum
Postpartum
depression.
depression. Yes,
A
ma'am.
lack of
It is.
vitamins is directly connected to issues with mental illness. So if you have a low immunity in your gut, they're now
Mm-hmm.
learning that the brain synapses
Mm-hmm.
and the gut are directly connected with
Connected. Yeah.
Alzheimer's, dementia.
Yeah.
So when a woman just had a baby and lost
A
a
lot of
swimming pool full of blood
blood. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and didn't have the proper um levels, right? As
Right.
far as her blood counts for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring her a Big Mac and fries after she had a baby, not restoring the proper nutrition to her,
Right.
raising her blood pressure,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not providing her enough water,
Yeah.
going to other cultures, warm foods,
Yeah.
making sure a woman stays in the house and her body stays within a certain temperature, because we know that homeostasis is the most important
For,
part for the
mhm.
body. Once
Yeah.
there's any imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
hormonal, vitamin wise, everything else starts working harder.
Right. Exactly. Yes,
But
ma'am.
we're not taught. Lack of knowledge, lack of nutrition, and lack of support. If a woman is not taught properly that you have to eat right while you're pregnant, after
And
you're
after.
pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and while
And
you're
while you're
breastfeeding.
breastfeeding.
If
Yes.
you're not breastfeeding, it doesn't even matter because your
Yes.
body still needs a year or two to get back
Right.
to where it was. It
Exactly.
took your body a whole year to
Yeah.
go through this process. And now somebody's saying, oh, you could get back in 3 months. No,
No.
excuse my language. No, the HE double hockey sticks. No, you cannot.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
There
ma'am.
is no bounce back, snap back. You gonna
Yeah.
snap back into craziness because,
Yeah.
and that's what's happening, because we just don't know better.
I love that you hinted on the iron levels and then correlation between the depression as well as to go into that the vitamin D levels as well.
Yes,
The
yes,
mama is not outside. Remember,
nope,
the mom is inside. The mom is not
yes,
the adequate sunlight she needs either. And like
right,
you said, the warm foods,
yes,
need soups and
yes,
things like that to, provide the nutrition during that time. So a lot of us, just to see what those things that I see on TikTok. Oh, I got my Big Mac and fries, like you said. No, ma'am, you don't need those. I got my meal that I've been craving all this time. Now
yes,
I'm done. No, you're not done. And
no,
even for me, I can say myself, um, once the labor is over, you don't think about taking those prenatal vitamins after.
right.
You still need vitamins. You still need vitamins.
You need
Yes,
more.
you need more because because the baby is pulling
Yes,
a lot from you. And we don't talk about this a lot, but the losing of hair, teeth. Let's
yes,
talk about teeth. My the baby is pulling everything from you guys.
yes,
So you need to know that okay, I need extra calcium. And
yes,
that's where WIC comes in play. And a lot of people think, oh, WIC is for low income mothers no, you need certain things
yes,
to ensure that your baby is good and to ensure that you're good as
mhm,
well. Because the baby can have low iron as well. If you have low iron, the baby's gonna have low iron.
yep,
You have to realize they're not eating some of the things that create, high or good hemoglobin. Okay.
right.
But I love that. So you said knowledge, nutrition, and
And,
education
and
and support.
support, and
Support.
support.
I
But
love that.
talk about the fact that When you have low iron, low vitamin D, women then, as a lactation counselor,
Mm-hmm.
then now your breast milk is affected,
Right.
and your breast milk is affected. And when you as a woman believe that you know that you want to breastfeed, that
Mm-hmm.
then makes you doubt your ability to provide for that baby,
Baby,
which
yeah.
then goes back again and affects your mental health. It
Right.
is a full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And iron makes your energy levels decrease, right? So
Right.
you feel sluggish. And
Right.
when you feel sluggish and slow,
You
that
can't.
affects your mental
Mm-hmm.
health because you
Mm-hmm.
can't provide for the baby. Now the baby is crying. Now you're agitated
Hate it.
because
Yep.
you want to take care of the baby, but you don't have the energy to get up.
So right.
Your toddler's crying. You can't
Yeah.
get up because, and now guess what? Now we're bringing in the lack of support again
Yeah.
because all this is going on. You're having
Mm-hmm.
all these issues with your vitamin deficiencies, and now you have a lack of support
Right.
and no one to tell you, hey sis, stop eating them top ramens, stop eating bowls of cereals, stop
Right.
popping just some quick oatmeal in the microwave, and
Yes.
maybe add some additional things.
Right.
You just keep repeating this vicious cycle, worsening your own health, and you're not providing, like you said, anything good for your baby because
Right.
breast milk works off what is being placed into your
The body.
body,
Yeah.
and then you may be causing another issue, eczema in your
Yeah. And your
child,
child. Yeah.
and your child. So it's we got to be knowing that everything is a trickle effect
Right.
that's going to in the end still affect mental health, which is going to become postpartum
Part of
depression.
depression. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, I remember with my first child, Elia, I didn't know I had postpartum depression. And then a lot of times we as a community, we don't talk about depression in general as
hmm
our community. And so we don't even know what it looks like. We don't know what it looks like, but it looks like you being in the dark room and you're caring for the baby, but you're not caring for you. You haven't showered in 3 days. You haven't washed any clothes. You haven't even
hmm
cooked a meal for yourself or anyone else. You haven't done
right.
anything. You're just providing for the baby. That's literally that's all I did with my first child. I provided for the baby, and my husband would come home, and I would. It seemed like the day went fast.
Yes,
It was like, oh, I just took the baby a bath, and I just laid down, I breastfed, and then I woke, and then now you're here. Wait, because I did nothing, nothing, but it stayed in the dark room.
you were in
Yeah.
a
So
fog.
right. So I love that. I love that you have that insight to bring to your community. And I definitely would love for you to be if you can, I guess, operate in that virtual capacity of a doula and provide different sources to them. Love for you to be on our list for Exploring Motherhood as a birth team specialist or provider or professional
Yeah,
in a capacity. So yes, if you would love to do that,
I would
definitely
love
let us
to.
know so we can add you to that list as well. But thank you so much for being on here. It is
No problem.
turning out to be 3 o'clock, and we don't want to stay too long. But if you have any last words that you would like to say or give to the community, definitely go ahead and do that now.
I would like to say that pregnancy, birth, and postpartum is not something that we should play with.
Right.
It is a serious topic. And I think that we have been taught that to get pregnant is so cute and to do all of those things is I want to put my baby some shoes on and put a bow in her head, or I want to be pregnant and take the belly pics. But there's so many more aspects to raising children, right? Your mindset when you're pregnant. It's just so much more that we need to understand about. Most doctors don't understand the birth process. They still to this day don't understand what starts labor. They
Mhm.
don't really go through the brain mind connection with creating a child and how that affects it's called I forget what it is. It's a epigenetics. And epigenetics is the study of environment
Girl, don't get me started.
on a baby's genes. So, I mean, there's so much more we need to know about. And so we need to take this more seriously and get yourself a doula. Become educated. If you know you're ready to have a baby, educate yourself and start preparing your body, nutrition wise, mental wise, physically, all of that before you have a baby if you can. Especially young girls, please start taking folate and are eating foods rich in folate. Do this stuff before so you don't have to, like they say, mess around and find out.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. You just took me somewhere with the epigenetics. I don't want to go into that,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
quick thought, just so I get my thought out, guys. We are our grandmothers and great grandmothers. We have to know that even some of what they thought before having us is still
Yes.
in us. Okay,
Yes.
guys? So the stress levels that they endured, we will
Hmm.
endure. We have to take control of our bodies and our brains and put into our bodies and put into our minds that which will create life and keep
Yes.
life going. So I'll just end with that. And we'll have to do a segment on epigenetics. Me
Yes.
and you,
Yes.
brother.
It's a
I'm gonna
whole
just say
beast.
that because that just took me over. I love it, love it, love it,
Yes.
love it. So yes, ma'am. We'll definitely have to have you on for another series. But thank you so much for being my guest, and I love to have you on the birth team. So definitely reach out to me for that. But you have a great day. You guys all have a great day. That is the end of this series. Love you.
Thank
Peace,
you.
guys.
Bye.